Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger is calling to change the structure of Georgia elections after, for 2 straight election cycles, it has gone to a runoff for the Senate elections. Senator incumbent Raphael Warnock won again for the 4th time he's won. He's gotten the plurality of a vote in the state of Georgia in the last 2 years. And so now the Secretary of State is suggesting that perhaps there could be some better alternatives. Dominic, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think they should get rid of the runoff election and just have a ordinary system like most states have, where if you get the most votes, you win. I think it's much more simple. One of the concerns that Raffensperger raised is that, these are people could get sick of election season, especially after you have, especially in Georgia, where these are super expensive races. People are bombarded with television ads forever. If they haven't made up their mind by the first election day, I don't see why they should have another chance to go and vote again.
Sure. And so the 3 options he's suggesting, right, are to switch to a ranked choice system, which we'll talk about in a second, to switch to what you're calling the normal structure, which many other states do, where it's just whoever has the most votes, even if it's not 50% wins. Or the other option is to eliminate third-party access to the ballot box. So those are the 3 options that he's sort of proposing. Luther, what are your thoughts on those 3 options?
I like the guy who gets the most votes winning.
Okay.
Ranked choice votes interest me in the same way that a lot of overly complicated systems are interesting because they're fun to debate. However, I think there's a strong argument that it's just deeply confusing to most people. They don't understand it, they dislike it. And are the outcomes any better or more accepted than a much simpler alternative? I don't think so. But Dominic, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like especially in a time where people have lower trust anyway in elections. I think overall people still have pretty high trust in elections, but lower than it was previously. Coming from both sides of the aisle too, this isn't a partisan thing, and I don't really think it would hurt or help Democrats or Republicans systematically in Georgia to get rid of the runoffs.
What would you say is the stated purpose of the runoff? Like, why does Georgia have runoffs in general? Why do
the idea is that they want the winner to have an actual majority. They want them to have over 50%.
So increasing confidence in the vote, or is it more? Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so if we get rid of runoffs, we still think it's important for third-party candidates to have access to the ballot, even if they don't really have a chance of winning. But so you would say that just going to a plurality, as long as you get more than the next person first past the post, is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that would be your preferred method.
I think so, and the last third-party senator to win an election, of course, was James Buckley from New York, and he did it. William F. Buckley's brother, and he did it with a plurality vote, right?
Yeah.
On the Conservative Party line, he ran against the Republican and the Democrat. And he did not get a majority of the vote, but he won because he got the more votes than the other 2.
Sure. So of course, ranked choice voting is very complicated. But Luther, would you say that ranked choice? In my mind, I think ranked choice probably allows the best option of any of these systems for a third party to gain momentum over successive elections, right? So if you have a candidate who runs and people rank them as their first choice, and they get maybe 5% one year, but then because they're on the map and like giving someone your first vote, even if you know they're not going to win, is not a bad move strategically when you're casting your ballot. If they can then grow to 10%, 15%, up to the point where they're actually really a viable candidate. Does that change your mind at all, or do you still really think that it's just too complicated or unworkable?
I think it might work best in local elections where the party apparatus isn't quite as strong. I think most of it is just a waste of time when we're talking about 2 very strong parties and then the occasional third-party candidate who really doesn't have much of a chance. I would like to see more of that maybe at the local level, because then you can work through many of the issues that come along with the complexity of ranked choice voting. And it also gets voters used to how that process might work. So I think for those who do support ranked choice voting, they're going from the wrong end. They're trying to take the biggest elections and switch those instead of trying it small. Localism. see if it works, and maybe voters will be receptive to it and will turn out in ever larger numbers because of it. But I think when you bring it to a statewide race, it just makes people feel a little queasy about what it all is involved. And I don't think we want people questioning elections like at the most basic level of why did this guy win? How did he win?
Sure, and potentially even being confused about who their vote ended up counting for at the end.
Correct.
Yeah. I wonder though, you bring up an interesting point about the distinction between focusing like local elections versus state or potentially national elections, because a lot of people will try it. There's always this big hype about, a third-party candidate running for president. And I wonder, though, I get what you're saying about wanting to start with it in the local level, but I also think that for a lot of people, they just pay more attention to national elections, like it or not. And so if you have a presidential third-party candidate, that, in my mind, probably has a greater potential to boost the profile of a potential third party than a local election does.
Yeah, yes, I quite agree. My biggest gripe, I guess, with ranked choice voting is it benefits those who are quite read up on how that process works. And I do think it would probably, in the end, tilt leftward beyond what a plurality might have, just because I think left-wing grassroots organizations are better at instructing their voters how we can work this system to our advantage.
Yeah.
And so I don't like that part.
Okay.
I like a guy going into the booth saying, I know my guy or lady, and that's who I'm voting for. Easy as that. Because, not to repeat myself too much, I don't want those who are trying to be slick to get away with what they think they're getting away with.
Sure.
Yeah, because ranked choice stuff, it encourages a lot of this sort of strategic voting too, where you have candidates that are saying, obviously vote for me for number one, but make your number two selection be this other person, because we don't want this other person to get it if I don't win. And now you're playing this sort of like
four-dimensional chess,
4D chess game with voters who we know are already not experts on anything that they're doing. Right?
Sure.
And it opens up more opportunities for that kind of stuff. And I think New York City tried ranked choice in their mayoral election, and it was messy and confusing to get the results. And this is a problem that we've had in this country the last couple election cycles of places that are really slow to count votes, like New York.
Sure. Yeah.
You have these times where the results are taking forever to come out. Now, with ranked choice voting, you have the added thing of, well, the person who has the most votes might not end up winning because the second choices haven't been tabulated yet, and all this stuff, right? And so there's a question of administration that I simply don't trust a lot of local government officials to do well. And until we can prove that we can do the simple things right, I think we should stick with a simpler system.
That's fair enough. I can agree with you that we definitely need to make sure every state can count their ballots as fast as possible. I think a lot of the problems start to play out.
Yeah, and I don't think there was anything illegitimate.
No, neither do I. But if you want to have trust, you've got to have it coming fast.
Yeah,
so,
it's sort of an appearance of impropriety thing, right?
Right.
Even if there's not any actual impropriety.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, as we all know, politics can be a really difficult and nasty game. But it can also be a really fun game. And if you want to check out Caroline and I reacting to Senator John Kennedy, the funniest man in Congress, check out our video right here.